Okay, there we go. Sorry, I had to add a media source there, guys, to make sure that this actually worked. So hopefully this runs properly. Let me turn the background down just a little bit because I think the background's going to be a little bit broken there. All right, hello everyone. Welcome. Guild Wars 2 Master, we're coming back. Like I said, the intro is going to be a little bit shorter on these so that we can actually crack on in with the game. So yesterday, so things are a lot more fancy today. Cho has continued along with some of the work I got a bit of a preview of before. So what you can now see is my live actual Guild Wars 2 efficiency accounts progression scrolling through as we do sort of our introductory chats and stuff as we go along. So yeah, basically what you can see there is what I've got and what we aim to get. There's some things that are really difficult to represent, like the vault, the wardrobe, which is what, you know, one of the more impressive things about my account. And, you know, total achievements and stuff is a little bit trickier. Here you can see the mini panel, which hopefully, does that look like that's lagging to you guys? Does it look jittery or not? I might really set up multi-PC streaming so that one PC can just dedicate itself to doing this stuff, because it might be a bit CPU intensive at some point. But yeah, and like Tonics here, you know, some of these lists get really big, and we can sort of get by with scrolling on some of them. His mounts is a tricky one that I'm not actually looking forward to doing at all, because I've made very little progress on mounts ever, as you guys know. But like achievements here, we can only represent so easily, so well. So yeah, Cho did really well. There's one thing that I've sort of tweaked from what Cho did. I really like the images I mocked up of the rule set. I really like their stuff as well. So it's kind of all bundled into a single slideshow now. So the images sometimes look, you know, a bit different in size and stuff, which maybe I can fix later. Tonic's list is useless until novelties have an API. Oh, is it now? That's interesting. So what's my Tonic list look like? This home node one's interesting. You see the one that looks like it's not filled in on the bottom row there? That actually is filled in. That's a holographic cat that the icon for it, the collected icon for the item, appears to be not collected, which is kind of weird. So yeah, you know, I'm doing pretty good, I think. A couple of mail carriers left to get. You know, I'm not anytime I see gems there, I'm not intimidated at all, because gems just equals gold, you know. And I'll happily spend a few hundred golds whenever need be, swapping around, getting some gems, moving along, and yeah, going with that. So the ones that really intimidate me are this mini section. Some minis get really expensive. Like when they've done those Black Lion minis where you tier them all up, I've never engaged with that. And that's a huge number of the minis that I'm missing, which is kind of lame. Tonics, I've got a ton of work to do, but many of those are super cheap. What really actually intimidates me is when it says bound. A lot of these account bound things have weird acquisition, like festival acquisition for some of them. And that kind of concerns me. But, you know, I've done actually quite well on a lot of the festivals. Like the Crown Pavilion, the Queen's Jubilee, when that returns. There's like daily gating on getting sovereign weapons and some of the new watch knights and stuff like that, and it's actually totally I'm 100% up to date on that stuff. You know, I got every daily, I got every ticket I could, so I've got every single thing all in order. So a lot of it is actually okay for the bound things, but you never know. Sometimes it won't look quite so good. But yeah, so you know, in this way, basically, hopefully the idea of Master sort of starting to come together for you guys now. Basically, we can sort of stream the game and feel a sense of progression as we go, you know, because this stuff will be filling in. Yeah, and take a good look, because we're at the start of the road here, and so you can kind of get a feel for where I am, and as we progress onwards, we'll see this stuff slowly fill in and fill in and fill in. I just want to take a second to say thank you very much for the sub to Cora Luna, who has now subbed for 3 months in a row, which is really weird because I hadn't subbed last month or the month before, so that was a very strange time for you to start subbing. But I really appreciate it. I think it's really cool, and I just want to take this second to remind everyone that what I will do is at the end of the stream, read out all of the subs and if we get a donation or whatever, and I'll do it there. Now, what I'm really concerned about is that because I'm only reading it at the end, people don't enjoy doing it anymore, and I won't get as many as I would have otherwise. And it's really important we get subs, and it's really important we get things. But for the sake of my sanity, I'm not going to be plugging Prime, not in stupid fucking Playboy ironic ways that people think smart, but actually it isn't. I'm not going to be, you know, calling out every single one. I'm just going to, you know, do the thing and see how we feel. Okay. So, yeah. Alright, okay, so let's see what we've got. Now, let's go into the game, and what I just want... Really amazing post I want to read. It's a depressing post. Are you ready? I actually just read the most incredible Our Relationships post I've ever read about a woman who deliberately crashed her car and possibly got someone else in an accident to pay off on insurance because she wanted a new vehicle, which was amazing. All right, but there's a more important one for the sake of being wood and potatoes. Okay, and Guild Wars 2 over on RMMORPG. Have you guys seen this MMORPG post? Terrible timing for Guild Wars 2. You know, right as the finale comes out, right as we're wondering what's going on with the game, right as it feels like some things are coming to a close, and you know, all this stuff. There is a massively upvoted, massively commented in RMMORPG post shitting on Guild Wars. So let's see what they have to say. The post is titled, I say massively, okay, it's RMMORPG, which, if you guys don't know, is a subreddit for general MMO discussion, and thus isn't that popular, because general MMO discussion, you know, MMOs themselves are becoming increasingly pushed to the side in the broader scope of gaming, I feel. And further, people get very circular around their one MMO. You know, just because you know a lot about Fractals of the Mist doesn't mean you care about Lord of the Rings dungeon scene, right? I said Lord of the Rings. What I actually meant was ESOs, but whatever. Okay, so here we go. Here's the post. Everybody around here seems to love Guild Wars 2. I don't have a graphic on screen because we're still working stuff out, so you can just look at my account while you listen to my voice, okay? I don't know what it is about this game. I've tried really hard to get into it. I psyched myself up so many times. I even tried all the classes, having to delete some characters to make new ones, just to see if I liked it more with a new class. For some reason, it just doesn't click with me. Maybe it's the combat. I hate the fact that your skills are determined by your weapon, that you can't pick and choose what skills you have, and that they're locked by your weapon type. The combat also feels janky, not satisfying at all, and has no weight behind it. Even World of Warcraft has much better combat, and I don't praise World of Warcraft very often. It's weird, because on paper this game has all that I want. Achievements, great for my completionist needs, no gear treadmill, no focus on dungeons and raids, freedom to explore and do other things, but I just can't get into it for some reason. So, interesting subject material. I was fascinated by several things in the OP already. That we're at a point now where World of Warcraft is being compared as having better combat than this franchise. Sorry, I'm having a drink. Like, isn't that incredible? It's weird because people think of Guild Wars 2 as really great combat, but I do think where the direction of the balance over the years has done nothing but speed things up. Speed up cast times, speed up cooldowns, speed up distances moved. There's nothing weighty in Guild Wars 2 combat anymore. If you go back and you look at like the original implementation for animations of skills, like watch that skill. In fact, I could show it to you. Let me have a look here. Just let me make sure I actually have it on my hard drive. Vanilla. Skill art project, high-res skill icons, skills menus, skills and skills concept, skills and build templates, skill and skill concept. Alright, I don't have it saved. Damn, I thought I had. Alright, I won't show you. But, you know, ArenaNet released videos of, like, weapon skills way before the game came out. And, you know, you look at old Barrage. Old Phoenix has, like, a long cast time, and then it swings out, and then it comes back in, and then it slams in. Yeah, all this stuff's gone from Guild Wars 2 at the moment now. And it is one of those things where the combat either clicks or it doesn't. And I think it very much depends on what build you're playing and how in how fun it is. And I guess the format too, but it is very floaty now, right? And I mean, I think the combat's amazing when you have the right keybinds and you're in the right build and you're kind of flirting through all different modes. It can feel really, really fun. But yeah, like really arcadey, really fighting game style, and it's amazing. Obviously, when you take it to the competitive formats, it's really fun. But you know, it's crazy to see this in this post, but I totally get where they're coming from. That they think that the combat's rubbish. Like there has no weight behind it, even though the combat is actually really, really, really good. I just think, you know, it's also this thing people don't understand it. The other side of this as well is that I found really interesting. What did he say in the OP? There was something else I wanted to talk about. Combat feels janky. Oh yeah, once again, look at this. Forever a pox on Guild Wars 2. Now, I mentioned this on my True Wars 2 video. For some reason, I hate the fact that your skills are determined by your weapon. This is so arbitrary. This is I'm genuinely serious. This is ArenaNet being too smart for the average gamer. They really are. ArenaNet knows that even if you had full access to all skills on all weapons, people would lock down what skills are best on what weapons, and you would be forced into certain arbitrary, you know, selections based on the balance of the time and the format of the game that you're playing. They know that that's the world they live in, so they just bake that into the system and build these little buckets out that they can balance in individual ways, thus creating more diversity. The game is better for their decision to do that. It's better. But just the way it feels just throws people off, and always has thrown people off. Forever a pox on Guild Wars 2. Forever a thorn in its side. Can you imagine how much player-based population and retention this game has lost over 6 years? Just because of this. I mean, it's incredible. They cannot escape this criticism. And I mentioned all this on my True Wars 2 video, and I said, look, you were too smart for people, and the next Guild Wars game, the next Guild Wars iteration, should be free skill slots all over the place, and just be a bit more sneaky about this balance element. Anyway, so where the post gets really amazing is the top responded comment is from a guy called Assigned Homework, who clearly is a Guild Wars 2 player. Now, he posted this 17 hours ago. He has 86 upvotes, which dwarfs anything else in the thread, okay? He's got, like, everyone seems to agree with this guy, okay? So we have to look at his response, okay? And see actually how right he is. Because despite the fact he might know a bit about Guild Wars 2, he doesn't know as much about us, as us, okay? You know, he is posting on RMMORPG. His sites are more broad, obviously. So let's see, okay? This is what his opinion is, and it's also bagging on the game. Let's see how right he is. So he says, I'm just going to read the whole post out. Maybe I'll interject. All right, here we go. He says, Guild Wars 2 is a game full of so much untapped potential, and I think it'll be looked back at. I mean, he's talking about the game as if it's over, which is already weird. He's right that it's full of untapped potential. He says, it will be a game looked back at as a game full of great ideas that were never fully realized. I remember back in 2012 looking at what was ahead and thinking the game had a bright future with its incredible foundations of world versus world, statistically flat PvP, and the bi-weekly living story updates. But the problem is that ArenaNet critically mismanaged nearly every aspect of their game from 2013 onward. A few bullet points regarding what I mean. And then he goes through a list of things he feels they mismanaged. Just starting on his introductory thing, I think it's amazing he thinks that it was broken in 2013 onwards. I think the problem started earlier than that, personally. But this guy is going to he's going to act like the bi-weekly Living World was good. It's amazing, guys. He's going to act like that Living World Season 1 stuff was good. It's really insane. And people are agreeing with it. So here, let's run through. I think he's bang on the money with some things, like the statistically flat PvP. No one, here's a funny thing about Guild Wars I just want to point out that holds PvP back. One point of praise PvP should always, always, always have, that should be screamed from the rooftops, is in the first second you can play the game at max stats and you can be competitive. You can roll a new account, you can put on a free-to-play core build, and there are a few, and you can climb the leaderboards and you can do very well, right? Like, that's amazing. That's really, really cool. But no one ever talks about it anymore, and it's not because of elite specializations. I mean, maybe slightly in part, but what it is actually about is that the rest of the game is so forgiving for getting loot and gear and stuff, and the majority of the population is now like a veteran user base, and it's not a growing population in that way, that no one thinks about anymore. Because even if that whole stat changing thing wasn't there, you kind of don't value it. It would be a horrible situation to have to use PvE gear in PvP, and I don't mean like statistical bloat and stuff. I just mean like changing your builds and stuff would be horrible. But it's like in the category of, oh, that would be a nuisance to people now, instead of the truly profound thing that PvP is offering. So no one talks about it. So I like to see that this guy at least recognizes that. Anyway, so here's his each area of Guild Wars 2 that was critically mismanaged in his opinion. He said they felt the game's popular and well-received leveling experience, for whatever reason, needed a dramatic overhaul, and they bungled the new player experience so badly that they had to go back and change everything a third time. Okay, so that's his description of one of their mismanagements. What do you think, chat? Is he right? Personally, I think he's bang on the money. I think this is absolutely correct, that the new player experience was a colossal waste of time. He's missed out a lot of detail on it, like the fact that it was probably born out of the Chinese launch, which itself was a colossal launch, waste of time. And, you know, but the mismanagement of the new player experience. The new player experience could have been really a force for good, but the mismanagement of it definitely, even the game suffers for it to this day in minor ways. So yeah, he's right about that, I think, completely. Next, ArenaNet invested literally millions of dollars to grow Guild Wars 2 as an esport. It never took on. ArenaNet then added automated monthly tournaments as a way to help grow the scene. Players in the very first monthly automated tournament that were unable to participate in the event because of dishonorable play in ranked matchmaking used other accounts to participate. Pretty much everyone involved got nothing more than a slap on the wrist for it, and this was the day that PvP basically died. Alright, okay. So, I love this because there's about, well, not 100, there's like 50 different events over the years where you can say, PvP is dead from now on, PvP has died, and I love that this is the one that this guy's picked, which is extremely recent, really, you know? This is not when most competitive people, I think, would say that PvP died, if indeed you even believe that PvP died. I know it's fun to doomsay and naysay, but, you know, in terms of a game that I can matchmake and before 5 minutes get a game very quickly, and there's always a monthly to experience and there's dailies to experience, you know, it's got the population to provide me content, so is it dead? I don't think so. But it's interesting, he seems to think they invented millions of dollars. I don't quite know whether it was that high. He's also, you know, the rhetoric here is that ArenaNet's investments into PvP held back the rest of the game, which is so blatantly not true. If they had invested to the degree that PvP held back the rest of the game, you would have seen more updates, tangible changes to PvP, and more investment in the balance team and the systems teams for PvP over the years. Not even when there's these smaller teams these days. You would have seen it like way back in the game's so-called prime, though I think there's several arguments to say we're not out of the game's prime. So, you know, and certainly these days they don't invest in it at all. You know, if we think of the best story, the most frequent story, it's definitely from Heart of Thorns through till this season, right? It's definitely that. Where the game had serious direction, the devs knew what they were doing, and the quality of the releases became higher, and the regularity of the releases. That's Guild Wars 2's prime in terms of the player base being treated well. It is, unquestionably is. And throughout that entire period, well, Heart of Thorns was probably PvP's prime, actually. But yeah, so it's amazing to see this, and he's one of these Reddit people that goes on about that first monthly, which is not, you know, in the grand scheme of the twattishness that you find in PvP and the horrendous shit that goes on there. That's the thing that Redditors latch onto. It's very funny to me. Anyway, so that's his number 2. Critical mismanagement 3. ArenaNet failed to meaningfully build on the foundations of World vs. World in any meaningful way. Edge of the Mists was a total waste of resources, and the Desert Borderlands was so unpopular that ArenaNet actually had to put a poll out to ask if the Alpine Borderlands should be re-added, which they were. But by that point, the damage was done. Most of the World vs. World community had already moved on to play Arcade and Black Desert. They now seem to think that adding mounts, gliders, and cosmetic backpacks is content. Full stop. Alright, what do we think about his World vs. World criticism? Now, here's the funny thing. I know less about World vs. World, and I find myself largely agreeing with him here. So I wonder if it's that thing, the less you know about something, the easier it is to agree with a post on the internet. But, you know, I think he's right. I think Edge of the Mists, I don't think it was a total waste of resources, but near enough that, you know, they should have done something else. The Desert Borderlands was so unpopular that to put out a poll and ask if Power Punch should come back. That's true. That's how it went. As interesting and meaningful as the Desert Borderlands could have been. I think that he's wrong that it was this moment everyone moved on to play Arcade and Black Desert. You can clearly tell when this guy personally stopped playing Guild Wars, because it's at that moment that the first monthly tournaments were coming around, right, with the Desert Borderlands and stuff. I think it was around there. So you can clearly tell that this is where he was looking most, and so of course the truth of the experience lies with him. Well, let me tell you guys, as someone who's stayed with the franchise through it all, even way back in Guild Wars 1, he's probably wrong about, you know, these so-called flashpoints of people leaving or whatever. He's just, you know, putting his own personal experience on it. And one day, I'm sure many of you in chat will do the same. Not that you'll necessarily post on the internet, but internally you'll feel that, you know, the moment you choose or you stopped playing was the most dire of them all. And he might be right about the mounts, gliders and stuff, but look, I think that's more about monetizing Wild vs. World. Wild vs. World's a hell of a thing. Maybe it's born out of my lesser understanding of the format, but it is a hard one, I think, for them to update. But there's his critical mismanagement there. Now, here's where he, like, starts drinking the Kool-Aid. Here his critical mismanagement of Living Story. Let's hear it. He says, bi-weekly updates to the Living Story turned into bi-monthly updates into a new update every 3 months. One might argue what we get in each chapter update in 2019 is more than what you'd get in the average bi-weekly update of Season 1. But if you look back on how much Living Story content we got in 2013 versus how much content we get in 2019, there's dramatically less content. What? And that's it. That's his critical... So here's something amazing, and ArenaNet, you should learn from this. This guy believes that just because there's a lot of separate little release pages for Season 1, because, you know, it says Bazaar of the Four Winds, and it says Sky Pirates of Tyria, and then it says the Crown Pavilion, and then it says the Nightmares Within, and then it says the Tower of Nightmares, and then it says the Origin of Madness. Because it's got lots of little things instead of just 6 big bullet points, he believes that actually means more content. This is the level that people think about the media they consume. He thinks that there was more. Now, listen, if he was playing during Season 1, he would know that's completely insane, right? But when time passes and this stuff becomes old and he's allowed to forget about it, all of a sudden, reality changes, and all of a sudden, Living World Season 1 was more. Let's listen to this again. If you look back on how much Living Seasons content we got in 2013 versus how much we get in 2019, there's dramatically less content. Insanity. Insanity. From the broad strokes, we can change the years he's talking about. Let's go 2014, where Living World Season 1 was good. And let's go 2018, where, you know, which was declared as a lesser year. That was last year, where we only had a couple of releases. If you look at the story journal in game, here, let's go in game very briefly for a second. Hopefully I don't lose my train of thought. All right. In the reintroduction of the Bazaar of the Four Winds, and he's ignoring the vast amount of current events things and the roller beetle racings and all kinds of stuff that they added, in addition to the massive scope of these 3 updates, right? He's ignoring all of that. I have lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Let's go back quickly. Let's take 2018. Oh, sorry, I wasn't... Oh, what did... Oh my god. Did that happen earlier as well? Oh no! No! Did that happen earlier? Oh, but I was in game for so long! Oh, actually, I wasn't in game for that long. Oh, no. The problem is, we rebuilt the overlays. And never added the mic to them. Oh. Yeah, I'm sure you've been telling me a while. Oh, that's so bad. That's so bad. Oh, okay, yeah, you saw me moving through the tunnel. There's not even desktop audio. It was just pure silence, eh? Oh, no. Oh, my God. Okay, well, you've heard me for most of the stream, right? You've heard me the most of it. All right, basically, look, here's what I was saying. Okay. Hopefully this doesn't scroll through here. Here's what I was saying. What I was saying is that Living Worlds season last year in 2018, we only had 3 releases on the window, okay? So you can make the argument that basically there was nothing in that year, but it ignores all the other stuff, like the roller beetle racing and all the different Living World content and all the balance initiatives on the profession reworks and the festival reintroductions, like the Bazaar of the Four Winds coming back and all that stuff. Okay, that's what I was trying to express. That basically, we can take 2018 as a really weak year. We can do that, and we can take 2014 as a really strong year for season 1. Okay. Now, if we go back to his post, all right, I appreciate you can't see it right now. His comment here is that we get dramatically less dramatically less content in New Living World than we did in original Living World, but it just doesn't work. There's no way that that season 1 even remotely comes close to what we're getting in the game now. Not even remotely. And if we do choose his specific years, he said, if you look how much Living Story season content we got in 2013 versus what we've got in 2019. That's what he said, okay? The equivalent of right now in the year, in the early May, okay? The equivalence it's insane. We got like a couple of shoddy little Flame and Frost releases. I think maybe we were just about getting the first dungeon for Flame and Frost around now. Maybe we were just returning to South Sun. And the patches really were then about an hour, if not less, okay? There's a reputation for Living Worlds episodes that you play them for an hour and you're done. That's because in Season 1, you really did. There was a little bit of a through-line story. There were no meta achievements to go for. There was no collections to go for. There was no armor. There was no sky scale mount. There was not even anything really daily gated, as much as people might whine about. There was nothing. There was no reason to do it. The other formats in the game were horrendous. That was it. Okay? And so, like, it's an incredible post to me because it just shows how dangerously off base people become. And don't forget, this is a comment that is massively being agreed with. Finally, his last critical mismanagement. He says dungeons were treated early on as the premier leveling space and the place to gear up your characters to tackle Fractals of the Mist, which were and was added a few months after launch. Dungeons today are a ghost town. Which, you know, Dungeons is another one of these things people really rage about. I still say that Fractals accomplish everything that Dungeons did. Fractals do everything that Dungeons did. Without a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. There's just like a certain sense about Dungeons that's more enjoyable. He's wrong that they're a ghost town. You can pug an LFG Dungeons extremely quickly, and I'm not saying that, oh, but WP don't understand that because he just did a Dungeon series with his guildies. No. You can pug and you can LFG Dungeons very easily. Just don't be scared to make your own group. If you have one friend and people see on LFG there's 2 people in there already, they fill very quick. They're not a ghost town. But, you know, maybe there's an argument that the flavor of Dungeons is worth something. But can you see here, like, there's these supposedly critical mismanagements of the game that actually boil down to skewed perception and, like, quite arbitrary stuff, like the skills being tied to weapons and that dungeons are supposedly so much more important than fractals. See, the truth is, if dungeons had never been implemented in the first place, that would not be a point on a bullet point to say is a critical mismanagement, and people would just realize that actually the 5-man dungeon scale endgame is really good in PvE because there's no existence of dungeons to muddy the water or upset people. MMOs are really weird in this way, that if you mess something up, right, and then you decide you don't want to support that format anymore, people will never ever let go of it, myself included, right? Like, I'll never let go of the fact that we can't play Season 1. I think there's very profound, serious arguments for re-implementing that, though, in how it actually affects people's ability to get into this game, which you'll hear the videos on very soon. But yeah, so it's cool to see a post like this. You know, it's about half right, but the other half is just bonkers. It's insanity. And the weird thing is, guys, give it another 5 years, and this will be the way that Guild Wars is remembered. This is what more casual MMO enjoyers actually think about the game, you know. The guy concludes by saying, I could go on, but ArenaNet critically mismanaged their game from top to bottom. Anyone that spent a significant amount of time playing Guild Wars 2 was not surprised to hear about layoffs. Elder Scrolls Online and Final Fantasy XIV have since gotten their shit together and basically supersede Guild Wars 2 at nearly everything it does. Now, on those, I can't make any comment. Maybe they do. Maybe they are better. I'm very enthused to hear the turnarounds of those games, though. Look, if those two can turn around and do really good stuff, ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2 can. They just need to look at systems. Systems, ArenaNet. Learn your game and improve the systems. The leveling, the tutorialization, the broken aspects of the game itself, the loot, the sense of reward, the weight of combat. These things, you know, because they've got an amazing platform. It just needs to be built on. But, you know, even his conclusion is like there's a little mix of just nonsense in there. Anyone that spent a significant amount of time playing Guild Wars 2 was not surprised to hear about the layoffs. They fucking well should have been. Anyone playing a significant amount of time playing Guild Wars 2 should know that the layoffs had nothing to do with Guild Wars 2, but the mismanagement of secondary products. Now, unless you're drawing some kind of correlation between the mismanagement of Guild Wars 2, so therefore it's obvious they'd mismanaged their new products, you're welcome to do that, but I think it's short-sighted because a game in development is very different to a game in release. But that's not what he's doing. He's suggesting that Guild Wars 2's failings led to somehow a loss of employees on Guild Wars 2 because he has a very shallow mindset about the whole thing. But you know, this is the world. And so anyway, yeah, I was reading that last night, and it's a fascinating thread. There's loads of comments. Then everyone has their 2 cents, right? This is just the guy at the top of the pile. But if you read it, guys, oof, and sort by controversial, it's very fun. If you can handle, you know, the game being bagged on. You know, discussions like this I always feel are a little bit dangerous and interesting in a way, because to have the discussion is to suggest at the door that the game is like awful or whatever, or is on its way out, or has had it or something. And I really don't mean to do that, because I don't believe in that whatsoever. But yeah, very ill-timed post, eh, guys? Very ill-timed. You don't want to post like this right as your finale comes out. You certainly do not. All right. So, back in game, and you can hear me now. Can I upload this discussion to WP1? What, with massive chunks of it, with no fucking commentary in the middle? Somehow I don't think so. Also, people get really sad when I swear on WP1. Also, it's like all stream overlays. I don't like that. You can cut the Doug, if you cut the commentary out of the stream, and splice it into like a nice track where it's like making a coherent argument, I will produce footage for it, mux them together, and make a video with an intro on my end. I will do that. That might be a good way to like do stream content. People at our MMORPG hate all MMO that exists, that will talk bad about everyone. Yeah, it is a weird subreddit. I don't like to generalize too much, but it does have a sense of that, and I'll tell you why. It's because they're not currently playing an MMO, so they're kind of there looking for a new one to experience. Look how weird the Ascended PvP backpack looks on that character overlay there, without any of the shiny effects. It's really thin. One day I dread watching a compilation of all my core Tyria rants in one video. It would just be me repeating myself. You just have to repeat yourself over and over. You know, if there's one thing I've learned from looking at the House of Commons and watching Parliament, right, which I've done. By the way, a lot of the stream break was like screaming and like learning a lot about Brexit and yeah. Basically, if there's one thing I've learned is that if you want to make an argument, it's not enough to have a sound argument. Lay the points out and counter all your dissenters with a devastating verbal riposte, right? It's not enough to do that. It's not enough to be logical. You have to just go on and on and on and on and on about something. You just have to keep saying it. You have to keep going on and on and on because people are forgetful and stupid and there's a lot of them who need your message. So you just got to kind of bang their heads over. And that's very sad to me that that's the state of the human condition and communication right now, that we just literally have to keep the person who says something enough wins. That's basically the scenario I believe in now. And that's why you can propagandize people and that's why you can peddle bullshit. But you can also use it to peddle truths and things you seriously believe. Such as the quality content over here on Wooden Potatoes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is turn off first person camera. I haven't played the patch. Now, I want to play the patch again. And I want to do the story again. And I want to do it in a way that I can record it for a YouTube video. This was something I was going to do during the day yesterday, but I didn't. So, we're going to play War Eternal. I'm going to quit so that Keith speaks to me. I'm going to do it solo as well. We're on a Grieving Dagger Mainhand Weaver. Now, the reason I'm on a Grieving Dagger Mainhand Weaver is because of the Dagger update. I just want to see how it feels. Probably not very different. Probably for some power builds. I've seen some people playing some Lightning Rod Dagger Mainhand power builds in PvP. And it's been pretty cool. But I want to try it on this anyway. Any excuse to use Ipos. And on a small little Asura, the footage should be better because, you know, there's not going to be loads of stuff crowding the screen out and whatnot. So yeah, let's just see how we go. I'm not in game. Why is it scrolling? Okay, something clearly is going on with this. Why does it turn off the game? Let me just watch this here. Yeah, I actually am on Condi Dagger. Yeah, because there's a little bit more bleed on this now, isn't there? Because it's multiple impacts. And this does more bleed now. This is 6 bleed when it wasn't before. Oh, no. That's not any more bleed. That's just a mob. Yeah, I'm going to try it. We'll just see. It might be awful for PvE, to be honest, because there's not much quality of life. Have I seen the new guild hall decorations for the new patch? Actually, I haven't. Have we built some? I am using Written in Stone. Yeah, I am using Written in Stone. I was thinking of going the Signet of Earth instead of Stone Resonance, because they're both kind of making you a bit more tanky, and this one also has bleed on it. But I'm going with this first, because this is actually quite a lot of barrier, especially in PvE, where you get the double cast. No game sounds. Ah, that's still muted. Alright, there you go. I need to change Launch Buddy so that it stops loading me in with my volume that low. So yeah, let's start off. I'm not going to be going on massive discussions about this. Basically, I just want to capture every bit of audio from the patch, so that when I make my video, I can cut it all together. Oh, she's not speaking to me again? I'll snip that in from somewhere else. Alright, we've got to go find Keith. Who was Keith at Lion's Arch? I can't even remember this. Can you give us a... Oh, division! Clear the lobby. Yeah, okay. When you use the radio, Tommy has the best audio lines in this episode. I mean, that was what she was amazing at in Path of Fire, so I wouldn't be surprised. I think we got some of the good ones. I saw that someone had, like, made a Reddit post of that one where she's screaming and fighting, you know, Kratotoric's minions.
But I think I saw a fish jumping right out there.
You place decorations right where we load in on Spud 1. By the way, guys, I need, to get all my unlocks, I need guild armor. I need guild armor and guild weapons, which means guild commendations, which means serious guild missions. Every week I'm going to be doing it. And since it's a part of Master, we're going to be setting up a new guild mission slot on one of these days. So, if you can tune in on the streams, and if you're still at your PCs as well. I know a lot of you guys, like West Coast people, probably in bed on your laptops or whatever at the moment, because it's the end of the day for you. But if you can play the game, what we're thinking is you can just get into the guild and you can play with us and you can do missions. You guys know I always kind of hated streaming missions. I think it's really boring and really lame. Back in the day, everyone used to do it, and I used to just think these are the worst streams ever. But I have a kind of a package for it now, so maybe it will be a little bit more interesting. And look, we'll find a way to have interesting stuff going on while missions are happening. Where are the new decorations? Let's see, what am I looking for? This is Beetle, Super Adventure Box, Heart of Thorns Core. This isn't new, is it? It said right near the intro waypoint, right? So maybe we just ran past them. Has anyone ever told me I sound like Mel Savari? Well, I did voice act for them. Whoops! Spoiler! No. Yeah, well, I'm a British male, aren't I? Oh my god, what, the fire thing? Does it do damage? Oh, of course it doesn't do damage. Of course it doesn't. I always go that one bit too far and think, oh, is it going to do an extra thing? Wow, okay. So, wait. How expensive was this? Dude, you could make some pretty interesting flame mazes. Wait. Guys. What you could do is make a flaming cathedral in the sky. No. Every time they add a new decoration, I always say I want to make it into a cathedral in the sky. You could make some cool labyrinths out of this. You could do a Kadim style, you know, flame maze. Oh, there will probably be raiding on stream as well, by the way, because there's a few achievements I need from the raids. I've never done CM Doom, and I've not done CM, what's it called? CM Kadim either. I've not done the CMs for the final bosses. So, maybe, I don't know, maybe we could do that. We would book it in advance kind of thing so that people who want to play can do it. But I actually need those things, and I've had no interest in doing them. You guys have got to understand, I haven't raided for about 8 months. Like, I just don't do it anymore. I have no need to go there, and, you know, I don't really have a community that does it on the regular. That's it. I haven't raided for ages. So, it's a thing at some point for Master. All right, okay, seriously, we're gonna get in. The plan was to beat the story, and we're gonna beat the story. Good luck with that. Yeah, I know, right? I know. But hey, I do enjoy progression if it's done right. If it's the right atmosphere and stuff, I enjoy it. 8 months is the last wing that old already? Maybe. That time's flown by. If it really is that old, then yeah, that's crazy. You still hope we learn something about the Forged and the Burning Forest? Yeah, I feel like we're moving on from these stories, man. I really do. Alright, okay, so I'm going to record locally here. And I'll probably talk over the game dialogue on this stream. Because sitting here in silence, interrupting myself, is never that fun. On a stream.
Hey.
So...
Do we have,
it's okay if I talk over them about this volume, right, guys? This way, look, I can interact with chat. It will be brilliant.
I've got nothing.
Yeah.
By the way, it's good to see so many United States people have made it. I think the only time zone I've really screwed over here,
See for yourself.
like truly screwed over, is East Coast. East Coast Americans, because for them it's like a really awkward time. For West Coast, this is like a bedtime show. For Oceanic, this is like a, you know, a prime time show, I believe. Back when I used to do breakfast shows, it was like a prime show. For, you know, for Germany and stuff, let's face it, people are going to be at work, but
Standing in front of
maybe they can listen in the car, maybe they can put me in their earbuds.
No. Like a true
Valen
soldier.
says, but I'm fucked.
Oh, Commander,
It's East Coast, it's 4:04, yeah. Well, listen, to
sorry.
everyone who is watching on East Coast, can I just say, look, I know
don't
how
know
you
what else to
feel,
say.
okay? Seriously. Most of my
alright.
life is synchronized with an East Coast time zone. So for me, because Europe is about 5 hours ahead of the East Coast, most of my life I go to bed at around 5 or 6 a.m. just because the people I hang out with are East Coasters. So,
I feel like I should be
you know,
saluting you.
or later.
Thank you, Logan.
So they're like, oh, I'm ready for bed now. It's about midnight, and I'm sitting there like a zombie because it's, you know, as late as 6 or even 7 in the morning sometimes.
Commander, we're here to pay our final respects.
This is a weird instance now.
We've
I
been
don't know how I
singing to
feel
her
about this
since
story beat, guys.
Before she was born.
I don't know. This is going to be
It
so
seems
weird
only
playing in
fitting we
sequence. I know I
sing
said it
for
on the
her
previous
one
stream, but
last time. as we prepare for the end of
What do
all
you guys think
things.
about this whole sort of phenomena in gaming, right? So I was playing a little bit of Don't Starve recently, right? And I realized that in Don't Starve, the guys that dev it, Cly Entertainment, over 2017 and 18, they basically did Living World Season 1 style stuff. They had these special events that were only available for like a handful of weeks in the year. And once they were gone, they were not
get
playable
through this
anymore. They were like
together.
full
I
campaigns
don't see
of the
how.
game,
Kravitz
and then they
works
just
in
stopped
the
being
mist,
playable.
devouring
And it's
everything
weird
he
to me to
can.
see people doing this
You
stuff. I
want-
just... There's a very
He's right.
real sense with games and live supported games these days that they're all about the moment, and no one cares about like the longevity of the game. No one cares
No,
about the
Bram.
preservation
Not
of the
this
content
time.
or like thinks
It's
about
over.
it on a long scale. No one like
Keith and I will tend to
creates.
Aurene.
Well, I'm not saying
The
no
rest of
one,
you,
but a lot of these games don't
should
put
be
much
with the ones you
attention
love.
to longevity focused stuff. And like you can see ArenaNet here as well. They're disregarding the long-term enjoyment of this story
Whatever
sequence
time we have
in
left,
favor of really indulging in that
it's a
3-4
gift.
months where we thought Aurene was
Aurene
dead.
gave it to us.
You know, and it worked
Does
really
that
well for
even
this
matter?
3-4 months. Don't get me wrong. I think they did it very well, but it's quite cavalier to the
Please.
kind of the integrity of the experience of people in
look
years
at
to
her
come.
like this
And it's weird
anymore.
to me. I sort of
Let's
feel
get
like
these
that's the
crystals
more
off of
important
her.
thing. Isn't it more important that in
we can
2025
prepare.
someone can come and play and experience
It
Guild
would
Wars
be an
2
honor.
as though nothing had ever changed? But you know, it's sort of baked into the pie for Guild Wars with dynamic events and the way they handle metas, and they don't ever really add scaling to the lowest of points for, you know, when the population's gone in later years. And it's just, if something about it feels weird to me. I'm not saying they're wrong, I just think it's interesting, and it's not the way I don't like to ever present the idea that the game today is better than the game will be tomorrow. You know what I mean? You don't want to present that. This is such a nice animation. Love the thud sound on that.
What is that? I don't know.
It's like 10 minutes
feel
of in-game thinking she's dead if you play the stories
something.
back to back. Yeah, and the weird walk
feel
to
it
Lion's
too.
Arch. I kind of like the walk to Lion's Arch,
Yes.
though. It's a bit like...
Yes, it's like-
It might feel a bit like you
An
are...
echo.
You're grieving. That's the commander's way of grieving, like to run off, you know? And you kind of do need to leave to get all these crates and things here. You know what I was thinking as well? That beautiful trailer they did with all that mocap. It would have been really nice if we could see that replicated in-game. That's such an inspirational trailer to me. I would love a way to be able to live mocap actors in this game. Can you imagine the kind of machinima you'd make with Guild Wars 2 with those kind of tools? It'd be so good, because there's just so many assets in this game now. There's so many stories you could tell here. Look at the camera work they're doing here.
Impossible.
I was expecting a lot more of this when we played this on patch day.
Your flowers. Everyone, stand back.
What is this? What are you doing?
Commander, what's happening?
She's glowing?
I suppose when I get to Let's Playing all of this, I'll be able to drag this sequence out as well, because what I'll be able to do is read all the short stories in that space between patches. And, you know, we can indulge in any audience for the Let's Play. Maybe that's all that matters.
Scion speaks. Aurene.
A 30-minute in-game, unskippable in-game cutscene? What, me? No, I didn't want a 30-minute in-game unskippable cutscene. I wanted the animations playing as we walked over while we have control in the game. And the cutscene wasn't... The trailer's not 30 minutes, so I don't know how you'd think that would translate to 30 minutes in-game, unless you're talking someone else. Classic says, would you enjoy it if ArenaNet decided to extend Living World season episodes to, say, 9? To me, it feels like the story rushes forward too much, like how this resurrection arc could have had a whole episode dedicated to it, to
Kept
extend
us
the agony a bit
waiting
longer and make
long
return from the
enough.
dead Matt.
Rand.
Well, look, what you got to remember, man, is...
Hard to mend.
Aurene, please. You must relax.
No time to grab Doric. Stop him.
The voice is so
How
strange.
would this be any different?
I gotta compile
Won't
my
we
thoughts
just
in this,
fail
man.
again?
We did not
Um,
fail. We
Can I boost
learned.
my volume?
had
No,
to
not
die.
easily. I'm
For
at max
this
on the
was
mic. I'll just
fire
turn the
of
game down,
courage.
and then you can
And
pick the
so
speaker up.
did they.
Yeah, okay.
Fire
In-game was too loud. That's fine. All right, I've turned it down.
Without fear or hesitation.
Hopefully that's a bit better. Right. So to the question, longer living world
Scion
seasons.
and champion. Flesh cracker
I think that's basically what we're gonna get, didn't they say as much in that blog post?
Right.
Right?
He dies
They
in the
they
mist.
essentially said
That's His magic is
They're
gone.
not going to force
So
themselves to do
mysterious.
new maps.
Yes.
And wasn't there a slight hint as to a higher frequency of Living World episodes?
Gorik,
I think what we're going to
send
see
them to
through 2019 and beyond is a blending of everything they've learned and accomplished through seasons 4 and 3 back into the season 1 format. I think we're going to see a middle ground between the two somehow. I don't know what they'll do. I don't know whether they'll even have any hard and fast rules.
Go, Scion.
I think one thing is
Finish
clear,
the song we started.
and this is so scummy and kind of tacky to talk about, but it really feels like they've got, like, one of their Living World teams is godly good. Like, they're really diligent, really hard workers, really efficient, just fucking amazing, okay? And I won't say which one, okay, because we won't go to the height of tackiness. And the other ones feel like they need a little bit more time, and things are a little bit slower, a little bit more plodding, and it's not that they're bad at their jobs, they're just maybe more methodical, and they need a little bit more time to flourish, or whatever, you know? But the point is, there's, like, this discrepancy. And maybe if they have less hard and fast rules about what a patch must contain, they can allow each team of talents to flourish at what they flourish at, you know? So, hey. Alright, right into the mists.
It's so empty.
But yeah, you know, they could have been restructuring and all sorts of stuff. So what do we think about this sequence here as well? I know I said it on the stream that you get a really good sense of his scale. I actually think you don't.
Badly. We almost killed him in the keep.
I think what this sequence is missing.
And finish the job.
I love how there's that thing. I think what this sequence is missing is a moment where they zoom our screen in. I think that's what we needed. We needed to get a sense of, because like you guys on the stream probably can't even see the commander right now. So you know this is a big thing we're dealing with right now, and it's built in engine, but the cinematography. I mean, the cinematography is obviously great. The camera work. Let's just use a very precise term here. The camera work could do a bit more. Like we're zooming in here. Maybe I'm wrong. We are zooming in a bit, but we need to get right in. We need to get over the shoulder of the commander, have a sense of ourselves, and we need to do it at a time where we're next to Kralkatorrik, and we need to see him like we would look when we're next to Sin, or while we're on Zora Magdaros, any of these big baddies in other games, right?
And Kralkatorrik's greatest secret.
We just need a bit more of that experience, I think. Just once or twice, really close. I was trying to move. So, and let's talk about the controls as well. How do we feel about these? It's very slow, isn't it? I think Boots was right on the stream when he came in. He said he didn't quite know what he was doing. I don't quite know what I'm doing. So I've got rock here and a rock here. I feel safe in the middle. But why would I be way off on the extremes?
Keep on him.
This portal is incredible. Look at this. What happens if we look behind, by the way? Oh, that was a nice shot of going sideways in. I'll try and get that on the video. Double tap.
Are we still in the mist?
Oh. Oh. It's the sky-scaled dive.
He's hungry.
So double tap to dodge is inexplicably back. Did the devs think that everyone kept that enabled for all these years? And thus that this would make sense? Can you imagine if they put like E or something on one of these rocks around?
Can't have that. Bring us in.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if they had that as a hint?
He foresaw the possibility.
These should all be
of a world
crits.
at peace.
Every single one of these should be a crit.
Strife
Have the
between
same damage, but
rivals and mortals.
players are conditioned to like the red.
Without him,
Oh, some of them crit and some don't, I guess. So it is actually a mechanic here. Why haven't mechanic where it's not augmentable in any way, though?
That did it.
Or maybe just a bit of variance? Because it's sort of already there on this. Like, this is good. Here's where we should have zoomed in. Right there. Right there as we come over his wing. Can you ever imagine that? I mean, I get that it would be disorienting. You'd have to pace things out right, because it would be very disorienting if it's not right.
We can't lose it.
Maybe tie it with that taking direct control of the camera thing for a second. Maybe it could have been used to represent those weak points. What do you think of Aureen's voice? You think it's great?
Underworld. We keep going.
As to the quality of the voice itself, like the sound of it or whatever, yeah, I mean,
Maureen,
it's a
his tail.
voice and it sounds... I pressed 2! This is so... Oh, yeah, because the... And why aren't these why aren't my hotkeys working for these skills? What's up with that? Why must I skill click in this?
Keep going.
Isn't that strange? Is it because I'm on a mount and...
Maureen, his tail.
I'll protect us.
Okay, I'll block now. Yeah, it's a really forgiving window on that. I'll just have to watch again. Yeah, her voice is... it's okay. I think there's weirdness there, though, because it's, you know, a new voice on a character... on a new character that we haven't ever really heard before. So there's just a bit of strangeness to it. And I do wonder why they did it, because
Hungry, all right.
of the Keith thing, you know. But actually, to tell you what, with the conclusion of this story laid bare, I think it is obvious why they did it. Here we could be zooming in again, maybe. Ooh. Okay, that was a bit scary. Okay, we'll hit his weak points. Because Keith's capacity as communicator with Aurene will be what's really relevant now that she's like a god, right? Now that she's ascended, now that she's moved on to Elder Dragon mode, Keith's connection is important. Keith is basically an avatar now, okay? She's a reaper of the labyrinth or the ice ways. She's, you know, she's Lissa's muse. She's Aurene's muse. That's what she is. Here, look, they force control away here. You know what they should have done on this one as well? Disable the minimap. We know they can disable this stuff. Take the minimap off of this instance. What's the achievement? Destroy at least 10 of his weak points. So, I just missed this, did I? I mean, it still says I'm eligible. But that will probably turn off right at the end, right? Yeah, there's not... It feels like it has barely any gameplay. It's really good for the first playthrough.
Oh, no, you don't.
Okay, we're into the fissure. What do you think the commander is to Aurene now? Are we still a champion? Do we still need one?
Reminds me of
Balthazar, the Fisher of Woe.
he's going to familiar places. How exactly are we getting him back to Tyria?
I don't know.
I'll open a
I think
portal.
Keith will be important to her.
Better
And I
fix
don't
the
think
big
they'll ever
one.
forget the Aurene story. Which one was this? Open portal and send him back to Tyria. Can I not hit more weak spots, though? That'd be really nice. Oh, I'm not eligible for the achievement anymore. So can I just linger here forever now? Look at this. Look down at the ground. Is the idea here that down on the ground you can see little lights? Oh, no, that's just a screen effect, right? Camera's a bit weird. Oh, no, never mind. I think it was just a boulder. You get little islands of existence. A flaming tree on that one. More flaming trees on this. It's really nice. This will be a good place to toggle UI off. You could just, I don't know, make some pretty stuff with that. Alright, let's go. You think after seeing Game of Thrones dragon fights, this doesn't seem very epic? Oh, come on. I don't think the way Game of Thrones did their dragon fights impacts this whatsoever. They're completely different. This is a game, so, you know, it's a long, continuous shots. Game of Thrones was just, like, messy. Oh, we have to try again. Did I mess up the timing? Is there a mechanic to this, or is it just making me press the button twice? This...
Too quick.
Too quick.
Let's clip his wings.
Oh, okay, no, we destroy more weak points, I guess, now. But I've lost eligibility, so...
Is waiting to be born.
We get Glint's
Here,
Echo.
give it
That's a
everything
really
you
nice
got.
term there, by the way. Glint's named as Glint's Echo in the dialogue. And so that's really nice because of, you know, facets and the echoes and stuff. I feel anyway. And the chanting and stuff. This is gorgeous as well. Very clean. So you might think it's not that good, but I think the cleanness helps it a lot. I like the decision to put it in the water, even if this has nothing to do with Steve. Just because it makes Tyria feel like Earth in that it's presumably got a shit ton more water than land. So if you're going to randomly appear on Tyria, you're likely to do it in water. Something that the mist travel and portal creation is conveniently always just ignored. But, you know. Any speculation on why Glint didn't show up this episode with Lars? Because it's in the mist. I mean, in the mist during that fight, it would have been amazing if we had Glint, definitely, like, come along and assist. I think the devs might realize that it's a dangerous goddamn thing, though, to keep talking about Air and Snap as if their adventures go on and there's nothing to be scared of. What is going on with the face cam? We'll fix that in a minute. Alright. And by a minute, I mean, like, literally right now. Let's do it this way. Let's remove that. Add a directory. Face cam. More cams. Select folder. Go. And now we'll just shrink them all down. To about there, I think it was, right? Okay. Yeah, I think it's just dangerous talking about characters who are dead, you know? The stakes are important, and, you kind of don't want to look at them too much. That's what I think. It would have been nice to see Kralkatorrik devour Glint and or Vlas as a part of the prophecy. To remove prophetic Glint from the story and give you a more bittersweet ending. That might have been nice, actually. That might have been a nice tie. Yeah. And maybe to mirror this effort against Kralkatorrik with Destiny's Edge's original effort against Kralkatorrik. That's perhaps another weak point of the patch, that more Destiny's Edge wasn't, you know, playing with it. I mean, Kaith, Ritlock, and Logan, that's the bulk of the group. Air's dead, Snap's dead, so what, we're just missing Zodja and Garm. Right? So, where is Garm now? Bram never, like, adopted Garm.
Commander, we
Do you know what? If there's ever a day that Bram adopts Garm, it might be a sign that Guardians are about to get a pet mechanic.
This is incredible!
I thought we'd lost.
We all did. And maybe the world will end.
What's Zodja doing the whole season?
Right
Well,
here,
if I... Okay,
we've
correct
got
me
a
if I'm
second
wrong.
chance.
Maybe my
All
nerd
because
trivia is
you,
weak a little bit
Irene.
right now.
Now
But
the
didn't,
real fight begins.
Felicia
It's not
Day
over
say
yet.
she'd been
He's
doing
badly
recording
wounded,
for
But
ArenaNet?
I have to keep him down.
Isn't that totally a
Lean on
thing?
each other. I'll work to
I
stop.
swear there was a
You
tweet
work
where she was
around.
like, this animation I don't like. I don't like the Aurene flying animation.
Listen.
Something about the
We're
lower half
making
of
this
her
up as we
body
go
looks
along.
thin and just...
What have we
bit-
got?
Us, obviously. And the Omakan.
Kaith's Zephyr
No, you're not supposed to
Zaid
like
rallied
Felicia
their own
Day
army,
Zuja in
came
chat.
on
You're
the
not supposed to
Corsair
like her when
ships.
you're a Guild Wars 2
Glint's
fan.
forces are
Because
massing
it's
to
her
our
fault
south,
that
but no
Zodja is
sign of
never in
Glint
the story
herself.
anymore.
Oh,
She's
and
too
Logan,
busy.
your
She's too
ancestors said
good
she'd
for the
like to
studio.
see you.
She's too famous.
okay.
You'll need
How
a base
dare
of
her.
operations.
That's
I'll
the
fortify this
prevailing
outcrop.
opinion, and
Give it
damn you if
teeth.
you stray from it.
One of us needs to scout this place. These are fragments of the mist. Anything and everything could be on them.
Plus,
Interesting.
we
So
need
they
to
do
know
have a
the
line in there.
exposition and
Goric says
vulnerability.
these are fragments from the
Have to send
mist,
us out,
and that you're
Commander.
just meant to believe in the whole
Actually,
goddamn
timing.
thing right there
I
with
could
that.
use you on my
You're
ship.
just supposed to realize,
Brain
sorry,
counting and thumb twiddling.
the fissure of woe is here and
Fine.
everything's
More
here.
like survey and patrol.
I mean, the word
Keep an
fragment
eye
is
on
probably
Irene.
not
Map the
descriptive enough.
coastline, help with cannons.
Oh.
Oh,
okay.
the tweet said she'd love to voice Zodja, but Arena hadn't contacted
Goric,
her.
stay with
Also,
Elmore and
Zodja was meant to
Knock.
appear in the original
I'll
draft of
talk to our
episode
other
2, but
armies,
devs cut her
then get you
during...
whatever
I remember
information
that.
you need.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'm conflating those 2 points there, actually, yeah. That they had expressed an interest. And I've now turned that into they outreached to her. And she'd said she expressed an interest as well. Yeah, so it's more an ArenaNet's end, I guess. Because they didn't really know what they wanted to do with the character, perhaps? I mean, hey, Season 5. Season 5 is an interesting prospect, you know. The optimists out there might
okay?
find a lot of really
Sure.
exciting stuff to see
Something you wanted to tell me?
in the kind of plots they could do.
Not now. Not here. Commander,
I'd like to take the
Studio
Omicron
cutbacks
west,
and an
build a
expensive
beachhead.
actor, just saying.
Unless
I
you've got
really
other
don't.
plans.
I mean,
Works
who
for
can
me.
really know
We'll
what
see if
her
Tommy needs
price
anything.
is compared
I'm
to,
sure
you know,
she's
they've
okay.
got some. The guys doing the. They've got like John DiMaggio, Steve Bloom, Troy Baker. They've got a lot of extremely prominent, extremely well-known, extremely talented voice actors. Okay. And but because there's one who's kind of known for their public-facing nerd shows online, right? And I don't mean to detract from Felicia's work in any way, but because one is a little bit more notable to slightly more casual audiences, all of a sudden that means she's out of reach.
So they've come
Also,
to
this
fight
has been
for
going
her.
on for years and years and
Couldn't
years,
say
long
no.
before any cutbacks.
Where's
This has been
Sophia?
going on
She
while
left
they
as
were
soon as we
expanding
landed.
heavily. Don't forget,
Said
they added a
something
lot
about
of new people to the
slow
studio over the
arrows
years.
not
Like
striking the
100 extra
mark.
people had arrived since
Think
the
she'll
launch
be
of Guild Wars 2.
She's a
And
priestess
this was
of
all
the god
during
of war.
time
If anyone
since
can
we last
take
really
care
saw
of
her.
herself, it's her. Commander, you'll need a force on the far side of these islands.
Yeah, Matt Mercer's
Crystal
the
Bloom
playable
could do that
character.
for
Think
us.
about that.
Go.
Think about how much work he's
good
doing for
luck.
Guild Wars. He must know a lot about Guild Wars lore. I wonder in comparison, I would love to, you know, the devs sometimes do these spotlights of the voice actors. I'd love to know what they really know. You know, I don't like the whole, oh, let's show Ritlock's soft side because the voice actor liked the idea that he was bullied. I think that was a bit lame, honestly. Just saying. But, you know, I'd like to see how deep it goes. You know, maybe these are great voice actors because they're hard workers. Well, not maybe. That is why. That is why.
But you can't do any of that until we find Gorik's instruments. The pack's still...
I wonder if I can get them to do voices for my machinima retelling of the story of Guild Wars Nightfall.
Turns out I can't see everything from this
I was actually doing that the other day. I just want to say, just for funsies, and it will never be a thing, but that I got bit by the creative bug. And I was imagining a world where I could do mocap with the Guild Wars 2 engine. And I was writing loose, vague ideas of how you could transcribe Nightfall into a trilogy screenplay. And I was thinking about what characters would be paired off in different areas as the story went along, and what tweaks I would make to ArenaNet's telling to just make it a bit more compelling. Like, I think I'd leave Milani in corner to have like a parting moment with Koss. You know, like a tender moment where they have to split up. And that allows her to be at Ronjok for like, you know, a movie version of the Terror at Ronjok stuff. Anyway, so I was reading through all the quotes and dialogue from various heroes. That's why, if you follow my Twitter, I threw a tweet out, which was a random tweet from Nightfall, which was a tweet from Norgu, who's like a theatrical actor. And he quotes plays and, you know, prose and stuff as you go through the story. And he quotes one play, which is from Romeo and Juliet. It's a Shakespeare quote, but it's kind of tweaked to be Guild Wars oriented. It sort of offers the sense of I cannot loosely give you guys the poetry that is this quote. Let me read it out to you. Here's the quote. People got a kick out of it. This is from Romeo and Juliet, but some playwright in Tyria wrote it, and Norgu, an actor in Elona 250 years ago, knew it. And so Norgu is speaking, and he's quoting the play, and he says, of the play, "And when he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of the mists so fine that all the world will be in love with night." So that is literally almost wholesale just taken from Romeo and Juliet. But it's Norgu speaking, and Norgu, after he gives the quote, he says, "That's one of my favorites, you know." So yeah, let's get some more lore about that, right? Okay, let's go straight Starburst to Starburst to Starburst this time. Can't wait to see Ritlock romance with the Mists. Have I seen Matthew Medina's videos? You watched his first one recently and you found it pretty interesting? No. What? Oh, sorry, Matthew Medina. For some reason I read that as Matt Mercer. That's really weird. Yes, I've seen his first one. I haven't seen his second, but really weirdly, I linked the first one to a bunch of my friends, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And one of them, like, within minutes of the second one coming out, posted it back to me and said, hey, look, he just did his second one. But I haven't taken the time to watch it just yet. But yeah, it was really interesting. There's a video, guys. Matthew Medina, one of the devs that was let go in the layoffs, is doing like a video series where he talks about some of the work he did on Guild Wars 2 and offers insights. Now, this I find amazing. I'd actually messaged him on Reddit and said, hey, you know, do you want to do an interview or something? And then I kind of didn't respond, and then I felt like it had been a bit too late, and it sort of let it fall. But I basically said to him, look, you're going to have millions of insights about this game that might not feel that important to you, but they'll be lost without you, and it would be interesting to just have some of that out in the community, you know? The more you say, the more like little wiki bits of trivia get added, the more, you know, just is added to Guild Wars 2 and the experience of Guild Wars 2 and what it's all about. So I really like the idea of getting those insights, and well, a few weeks later, I hadn't spoken to him for ages, and he's got these YouTube videos which are doing basically that. I think he's streaming actually initially, and he just kind of goes through and he talks about what he did with the instances that he built. The first one he showed off was Hidden Arcana, which I get a massive kick out of. Sorry, Obscura Arcana is the one he did, which is set in the Dermond Priory Library, with all that lore information and those books. And it's not the original Priory instance; it's the second Priory instance. But you know, he talks about Abaddon, and he talks about, you know, the Easter egg that's there. But just as an example of one of the insights he gives, in that instance, there is a drunk sleeping Norn, right, guys? And this drunk sleeping Norn isn't even a named NPC. He's just like Priory Explorer or something. He's passed out. And Matthew says, he walks near it and he says, oh, I like to show important stuff with this sleeping Norn or something. So I guess in some of his instances, wherever you find the sleeping Norn, it's like some golden path thing you have to do or important interactable. Anyway, he says that he's got this whole headcanon for this Norn, and apparently in most instances he'd built, or several instances he'd built, this drunk Norn he'd always put passed out asleep somewhere. And he had this whole headcanon about this character, that it's this guy that basically follows the commander around, joining like the various orders of Tyria and, you know, interacting with them, but he's useless at his work and he's lazy and he just gets drunk and passes out all the time. And so there's like this character in Guild Wars 2 that was always there, but because it was never a named NPC and never had any actual information, it was just something that had been placed in the game in the minds of one of the devs. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, to think about that and the death of the author and how much of that is real and stuff. But it's very, very fun to, you know, hear insights like that. And it's interesting to hear his perspective on things. Like, he's talking about the instance. He's like, oh, I made this instance way harder than the normal Living World instances because, you know, I want this to be a significant moment and stuff like this. And I do remember that instance has mobs that hit a little bit harder, but I basically had no recollection of it being a challenge whatsoever. But, you know, he put this effort into making this harder than normal. And you hear a little bit about how they handle implementation of mobs. Like, they clearly do just scale their damage values and their tankiness values and stuff.
Right now. Tell the commander about
so yeah, I think subs can post links in chat, so if anyone subscribes, you can totally throw that over to the stream. You can leave my crappy stream and go to his better stream, because it has real insights, not just speculations.
Not yet. We're experiencing some static interference. I'll call if something comes up.
He only has 32 subs on YouTube. I think he deserves a few more. Well, I mean, not everyone who makes a YouTube video or streams is trying to become E-famous. I mean, they might indulge themselves in little fantasies of winning the lottery, but I think some people just like to share stuff, and that might be what he's doing there. So, you know, you can subscribe to him. I don't know how long he'll be doing the stuff for or what his plans are. I don't think that you have to wonder about those things, I guess I just think when you... That's me that's doing that, isn't it, when I think about subscriptions. But, yeah, it was, I will say, to be perfectly candid, there's a really interesting moment on it as well, where, quite a sad moment, where he's clearly got a list of things he's going to be talking about on this episode, right? He's going through, and sometimes he distracts himself, and it happens to everyone, really, when you're trying to juggle multiple trains of thought. You can interrupt yourself, and it takes quite a bit to, you know, not struggle with that completely tripping you up loads and loads and loads. Anyway, so at one point he goes completely off track and he's not talking about his established stuff anymore. And he basically says, oh yeah, I haven't played the game for a while. And you're like, oh, okay, he's not played the game for a while. I guess that's interesting. And he says, yeah, I kind of, you know, I lived and breathed Tyria for like 14 years, you know, like he was there at the inception of Prophecies as far as I know. He's like, and now I'm not working on it anymore. And it's a bit sad and whatever. And all of a sudden, you know, the conversation has gone into a really grim place where we're suddenly thinking about, oh, is it justified he got let go and all this kind of stuff. And he knows people are going to be thinking about it, so he's like trying to hastily move the story on. But he seemed genuinely bummed out about it, like genuinely really upset. And it was quite a moment he glosses through very quickly, but people will catch it. And the emotion of that little moment there is like, ooh. Okay, and yeah, I wonder sort of whether he's using the videos to show examples of his work so that maybe future employers might be interested in picking him up, you know? Almost something of a an online sort of footprint or portfolio for him of some kind, maybe. But yeah. Are we not doing metas on this stream? Not this stream. This stream I'm just going to go through the story. But we will do metas. I did say yesterday I want to do the meta. I want to see what Kralkatorrik's death looks like. You still, up till now, have seen every single moment. Oh, right. Hold on. I forgot. We're supposed to be planting these things. Wow. This is really this fast into the patch. It does not take long, does it? I do want to do metas, just not this stream. You've still seen everything I've done in War Eternal so far. Every moment of it. So obviously it's not that much.
I put the first tap down. Are you getting what you need from it?
Shaman, I can't really click links because I'm filming my client. What is that tweet? Is it from Shaman about stories that never happened? Is that what it's about? I'm guessing it's about that. Yeah, there you go. People post a link. Yeah, go support. And I don't know what his episode 2 is like. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully he's got some good insights. I think it's Path of Fire because I think on the thumbnail I saw he's on a mountain.